2 competitions, 2 victories, an apartment in Moscow, and an audience that no television show gave her. One built clip by clip, share by share by people all over the world who heard something that they couldn't explain and refused to keep it to themselves. By the time Diana Ankudinova was 15 years old, she had already lived more than most people twice her age. But here's the thing about survival. It gets you to the starting line. What you do next, that's the real test. And Diana was just getting started.
Fam reacts. Let's start the show.
In 2020, she made a decision that said everything about the kind of artist that she intended to become. She didn't chase a record deal. She didn't sign with a management company that was promising quick fame. She enrolled in school. Specifically, she enrolled in one of the most respected performing arts institutions in Russia. Get this, the Russian Institute of Theater Arts, a place that has trained generations of singers, actors, directors, and stage performers. A place that doesn't just teach you how to perform, it teaches you what performance means. For Diana, this wasn't a detour from her career. It was the foundation that she wanted to build upon. She was choosing depth over speed, craft over momentum, the long game over the quick win. But 2020 didn't only bring new beginnings, it also brought loss. That year, Diana lost 2 people who had helped shape the artist that she was becoming. Her vocal teacher, Olga Donskaya, the woman who had guided her voice through some of its most performative years, and her adoptive father, the man who had helped Irina bring her home and build that home that gave her the stability to become who she is. Grief doesn't pause for ambition. It doesn't wait until you're ready. It arrives when it arrives. And Diana carried both losses while continuing to study, continuing to create, and continuing to move forward, because that is what she has always done. In memory of her adoptive father, she made a quiet, deep personal decision. She changed her patronymic. In Russia, naming tradition, the patronymic is derived from the father's name. It's the name you carry in the middle, basically an American middle name. It's the one that connects you to where you came from. Diana chose the name Dmitrievna, honoring the man who had helped raise her. A girl who once had no name anyone chose for her, who was left at a bus stop with nothing but a broken collarbone, now carry a father's name by choice, by love. And she kept creating through all of it. In 2021, Diana did something that announced exactly who she was becoming. Instead of waiting for the industry to come to her, she turned directly to the people who had been with her from the beginning, her fans. She launched a crowdfunding campaign for her debut album, simply titled DA. That works for me because I can't pronounce her last name anyway. The campaign didn't just succeed, it reached 236% of its funding goal. The fans who had shared her clips, who had introduced her voice to strangers, who had watched and rewatched those performances, they showed up and baby, they showed out. In December of 2021, the album was released. 9 original songs. For the first time, the world wasn't just hearing Diana interpret other artists' work. They were hearing Diana, her sound, her vision, her voice on her own terms. God, I love that. That same year, she appeared on a competition series called Show Must Go On, a format where performers singing in elaborate disguises, identities hidden, and the audience is forced to focus on one thing only, the voice. Just the voice. No face, no story, no history. Diana performed as the Crow, and she won again. Against professional singers, against established performers, against people who had been in the industry for years. A disguise couldn't hide what her voice carried, though. Nothing can. She appeared later on The Masked Singer Russia. By this point, she was no longer a teenage prodigy being celebrated for what she might become. She was a seasoned performer with a body of work, a degree in progress, and an international audience that found her entirely on their own. Her career was also expanding beyond music. Her training at Gittes had prepared her for every stage in every sense, and she began taking on acting work, including a film project called Burnt Out. Scheduled for release in 2024, Burnt Out was her special project. The performer was growing in every direction at once. Then came February of 2025. Diana A graduated from Gittes, a full performing arts education. Complete. The girl who once struggled to speak in full sentences had just earned a degree from one of the most demanding performing arts institutions in her country. Let that land, let that sink in. And then on top of that, the music kept coming. Singles like It Is Here and Quiet and Bright marked a new stage in her artistic identity. The voice audience first heard at 14, raw, startling, almost impossible to place, was still there, but now it was accompanied by something harder to teach than talent: perspective. The kind that only comes from living through things, from losing people, from choosing again and again to keep going anyway. Which brings us to where Diana stands today, and to a question that comes up in nearly every conversation about her. Why isn't she already the biggest singer in the world? Like, it's a fair question, because when people hear her voice for the first time, really hear her voice for the first time, the reaction is always the same: disbelief, then curiosity, then something that feels almost like protectiveness, like you want to make sure everyone knows. So why hasn't that translated into global superstardom, you asked? The honest answer is complicated. Much of her catalog is in Russian and French, and while music has never needed a shared language to move people, the global pop machine runs almost entirely on English. There are geopolitical realities that affect how artists from certain regions access international distribution, promotion, and touring infrastructure. These aren't excuses, they're walls. Real ones, but here's what's also true. Diana's international artist wasn't built by a label. It wasn't built by a campaign. It was built by people. One video at a time, one share at a time. One stranger sending the clip to another stranger and saying, "You have got to hear this." That kind of growth moves slower than a marketing budget, but it also runs deeper because it's built on something that the industry cannot manufacture: genuine discovery. And the discovery is still happening every day. Somewhere in the world, somebody is hearing Diana Ankudinova's voice for the very first time. They're stopping what they're doing, they're watching it again, and they're sending it to someone like, "You have got to hear this." That's not a trend. That's not a moment. That's a movement. That's a voice that has found a way to reach across language, across borders, and across everything that should have stopped it and land. This is where we're going to leave you with the performance that for many people is the one that makes everything click into place. Not the competition stage, not the audition room, not the moment of shock or the viral clip, just Diana, the artist she has become, doing what she has done since she was 4 years old, opening her mouth, letting the world in, and giving it back as something beautiful.
Все равно ведь уступишь, так уж лучше сейчас уступи. Она здесь, в сердце моем теплым живет птенцом, в жилах моих жгучим течет свинцом.
There was a little girl once, left at a bus stop in the middle of a Russian winter. No one came back for her. No one chose her. The world had no idea she existed. And somewhere inside that little girl, through all of it, through the orphanage and the silence and the fear and the words that wouldn't come, was that voice waiting, not to be discovered, not to be rescued, just waiting to be heard. The world is still catching up, but it's catching up. And the story, Diana Ankudinova's story, is nowhere near finished. Thank God she found adoptive parents and an adoptive big sister that indeed chose her, chose to give her the life and the chance of a lifetime that most orphans in Russia don't get. I really hate that the political climate and the policies that you live under in Russia, from our understanding, kind of restricts artists like Diana. But as we all can tell, as we all can see, not even Putin can keep Diana away from us. And we know how powerful Putin is. Right? Right. Right. That, ladies and gentlemen, is Diana A from Sam's Fan Reacts. Drop down in the comments below, what artists should we feature next? I'm thinking Pentatonics or somebody like that. Probably Pentatonics, because I really want to know their story. So I'm thinking we're going to do the Pentatonics next. What y'all think? Drop it in the comments below. All right, that's all for now. Bye.